Welcome to GTC's Teaching Tidbits Blackboard Ultra. In this limited series, each episode, we will explore a technique, tip, practice, or idea to expand your knowledge of and your comfort with using Blackboard Ultra. Continuing his instruction in our series is Lee McMinn from the Curriculum and Instructional Support Center, CISC for short. And in this episode, Lee is introducing grading and the gradebook in Blackboard Ultra. Well, welcome back, Lee.
Thanks.
I will turn it over to you to share your teaching tidbit.
All right. So again, grading in Blackboard Ultra, it's a bit different than original, and I'm going to show you some of those differences and how to navigate through this. Basically, here's the agenda for what I'm going to cover. First is setting up the gradebook when you first get a brand new course, setting up the overall grade column. That is the external grade column. You do not have the option to set that anymore like you had to do in original. That's automatically set. What you just have to do is set up how that overall grade is calculated, whether it's points, percentages, weighted total, just total points, those sort of things. Then we're going to look at grading an assignment using a rubric. Now, rubrics can be used for grading discussions, for essays inside of a test and things like that, but I'm just going to show you it while grading an assignment. How to use inline grading, which is almost exactly the same as it is in original, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. Viewing a conversation, and you notice the note I have here says it applies to other items. Conversations is something I mentioned in one of the previous segments, and it has to do with comments that students can make or ask either to the instructor or to their other students, classmates, if you will. And so we're going to look at that. Then how to grade a test and grading a discussion forum, because that's a little trickier than it was in original. So let's get on with that. And what I'm doing is we're looking at some practice courses. I'm on the test server. And the reason I'm showing you this on the test server is because we have a few new things that are coming out on July the 8th. And most of you will have that version on July 8th. So we're going to look at those things. So first off, a brand new course that you've never used before, when you go to Gradebook, and this is how you access the Gradebook on the toolbar across the top, this is what your Gradebook will look like. It's going to be empty, all right? So you can't set up any calculations. You can't set up, there's nothing to grade, so there's nothing to set up. So you either need to create a gradable item first, or you could create an item here for like those of you using face-to-face, maybe it's a project or something that's not actually going to be in Blackboard, but you could create an item that way before you can do anything else. Many of you will be getting a course that is copied into here, into your new course, and so then you would have gradable items in there already. Once you have at least one gradable item in a course, then you're going to see this at the bottom. Now, if you get a course copied into your new course that may have multiple gradable items, this will be at the very bottom. And this is where you set up your overall grade. All you do is click Set Up. Now, this is a new page for those of you already teaching in Ultra, but again, we'll be showing in starting July the 8th. You have the option to choose. Do you want it to be based on points, or do you want it to be weighted? All right. You can ask for an example, or you can view an example by clicking Show Example, and it kind of shows you what it is. It's the main category, and then the items within that category and how many points those are all based on. I generally use weighted. Again, you can see that example as well. Once you've selected this, click Next. Oh, wait a second. I forgot. I really want to do this on points. Well, guess what? You can make the change right here at the top. So if you chose weighted and you meant to choose points, you can come back up at the top and you can switch there. So just because you make that decision on that introductory screen doesn't lock you into it. You can make a change after you've already come here. Now, Blackboard has provided some a little legend at the top. You'll see these icons throughout next to the categories and next to the items. If you don't need to see that, you can hide those instructions and save a little bit of space. Now, one other thing before we actually go into the weighting or the points is, how is this going to be displayed to your students? By default, it's set to letter grade. That means whatever the calculation is, based on a 10-point scale, 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 90 is a B. It's set to display those letter grades. Generally, we suggest you change that to percentage. Now, whether this shows to the student or not is up to you. If you do not want to show the overall grade to students at the beginning of the course, you can uncheck that, and this column will not be displayed to the students until you come back and turn this on. By default, Blackboard has a group of categories already set up. Just a side note here, you will be able to edit the categories for discussions and journals. You have not been able to do that in the past with Ultra, but that is coming and you will be able to do that. I know there'll be some cheers from some. To see the items in each category, you can click the drop-down arrow at the end and it shows you if you have any items in that category. All right. By default, Blackboard, if you're using weighted total, just distributes, takes 100% and divides it evenly by the number of categories and gives that grade. Let's say you don't have any homework. You can click the circle with the slash through it and to cancel out those categories because you don't have anything in them. And notice the percentage gets recalculated. You can change that. For example, I give 10% for quizzes. Well, if I can click in there, you can change that. And notice the percentages recalculate as you modify the percentages of each item that you're going to be using. I don't use presentations either. Now, once you modify that percentage, the padlock will lock. You can unlock it if you want to change it. Test, I have a higher percentage for test. I'm going to lock it in place and notice the other percentages automatically change. I'm going to leave it at that and just click save. Once you click save, it's going to show you that the settings of your calculation. Now, let's say you have an item in a category. I don't want to include that item. Now I've got to find one that's got something in there. For example, let's say you have multiple assignments and those would all be listed here. And what you could do is you could click the circle with the slash through it just by that assignment. And what that's going to do is it's not going to use that assignment. It's not going to include that assignment in the calculation. All right. You could also remove an assignment. For example, if this assignment, I wanted it to be its own weight, not calculated with the category of assignments, then I could click the little, I don't know, call it an ellipse with a slash through it, and that will bring it outside of the category, and you can then give that particular assignment its own weight, so to speak, that's calculated separately outside of the assignment category. So just be aware of that. All right. Now, that's dealing with setting all that up. Let's go and look at grading an assignment. So when you come into your course as the instructor, you can go to the gradebook. As students have posted items to be graded, you will see all of the items listed on the left-hand side, the gradable items. You will see a column under status that shows you if there's anything that needs to be graded. For example, for practice assignment 1, I can see that I have 2 that need to be graded. I can simply click on that assignment and it shows me all the students in the course and I can see who needs to have something graded. Now, if you have a long list of students, like 25, 30, or 35 students in the course, it could span multiple pages. Do you have to scroll through everything to see which ones need to be graded? No, the great thing we have here is under the filter, we can choose to show only those that need to be graded. And now I can see only those that have something submitted that are waiting to be graded. All I have to do is click on, for example, Wilma Flintstone. The right panel pops up. I click on attempt 1, and now I can grade her submission. Now you see this is an essay. There is a little icon designated beside the submission number at the top. Also on the feedback column, it shows rubric. That's just saying or reminding you that this has a rubric assigned to it, and that's how this should be graded. So I can expand the rubric by clicking the down arrow. And as I modify the grades, for example, I'm just going to say this was satisfactory. Notice how the grade automatically updates, all right, as I add things to the rubric. You can provide feedback for each item in the rubric if you need to. You can then go through and grade each of the items in the rubric. I'm just quickly going to assign a almost perfect score for this student. I'm not going to give any feedback badly. You really should give feedback if you don't give a student a perfect score, and let them know what specifically is wrong, especially with this rubric, which doesn't have any explanations in it, right? Notice as the rubric was updated, I can see here that the submission grade is set to 85, and then the final grade for this assignment is set to 85. And the reason it shows two different grades is the bottom one is just for this attempt. The final one, if you had multiple attempts and you had it chosen to grade the first attempt, or to have the grade for the highest of the attempts, that final grade would reflect whatever setting you had made. I can quickly move over to the next student at the top on the navigation and just jump right over to Bruce Wayne, and I can post his grades. Once you finish grading, you just need to close the grading panel. I'm going to jump back into Bruce Wayne for just 1 second and talk about the inline grading. Remember, it's just the same as it is in original. You can use the tools, you can set your settings, and the great thing about this now is Blackboard remembers these settings. So I can now come in and I can mark on the file submission. I can put in a comment. Again, be specific and tell the students when you give these type of comments exactly what the issue is. And then once you've posted these comments, you can post the grade now as well. The commenting in inline has nothing to do really with the grade points whatsoever. That's just where you're giving good feedback to the students. Now, when you close out that student, you're going to see it's going to come back to the grade book with the panel open for that last student that you were looking at. You just need to close that. Sometimes it may take a second or two for that to come up. Notice I didn't post a grade for Bruce Wayne, so under needs grading, it's still showing 1 to be graded. I also see at the top in the color bar that there's 1 to post. If I go back to show all, 1 for Wilma, it's been graded, but it hasn't been posted yet. That means the student can't see the grade until you post it. So items like assignments that have to be graded manually, or tests that have essay questions, short answer questions that need to be graded by the instructor, the students may not see those grades depending on the settings that you have. All right. When I have the choice now, I can either post this single grade, or if I have, let's say 10 or 15 students that need to be posted, I could click post all grades. You'll get a confirmation. Is that really what you want to do? And you can confirm that. And now it shows posted. So now Wilma can see this grade when she comes into her course. If there was any feedback typed in, there would be a feedback icon next to that, so Wilma would know that there's feedback for her to see, right? So that's how basically you can grade assignments, all right? I did not mention conversations. When you come into your course content area, on the assignment itself, if you see a little indicator, now this could be an assignment, it could be a test, it could be another item, anything that you have conversations turned on, you will get an indicator if a student or multiple people have posted something to the conversation. To view that, again, you just go, you can open up that assignment. In the top right-hand corner, you will see an icon there. It's very tiny, so that really blue dot on the content area is very helpful. You can click on that to open up the conversation, and then you can read and reply if needed to the conversation. Now, this is just specific to this one item, right? And all the students can see this, right? So just be aware of that. Next thing is grading test. Again, from the grade book, you can see a test. Notice this one says post grades. And that is because on this particular test, right, I had it set where it was question types that could be automatically graded. And there may be some types in there like essay questions that need to be graded. So again, those might not show up. Also, I'm going to jump over to settings really quickly. Notice I did not have, this is another setting for assignment grades that I mentioned in a previous tidbit, where if this is checked off, post-assessment grades automatically, it would post the student's grade if this were checked off, even if there were still questions that needed to be graded individually. Students would just have to know that the grade that they're seeing is not a complete grade at that time. But since I did not check this off, that's why I have the post here. And that lets me know, again, I can sort it by the things that need to be graded. And that doesn't show up because it looks like it's already graded. So from this screen, again, you just click on the student's name, and now you can go in and grade the test. All right. This uses fill in the blank questions. And as you may know, students can type differently than you do. I teach math primarily, and so a coordinate point, 3, 4. If they do 3, space 4, that's different than 3, 4. So Blackboard would count that incorrect, but in actuality, it could be correct. So what this allows me to do, for example, here, the question number 3, I can see what the student entered. This is what the correct answer is. What the student entered is correct, all right? It just doesn't have a couple sets of parentheses that aren't necessarily needed. So what I need to be able to do is I need to give this student full credit. Now we can do this. Beginning July the 8th, you can edit individual scores on individual questions like this. We haven't been able to do that until then. So I can change this and give this student a perfect score, all right, because they did get it correct. And go down and check the rest and do the same thing. Here's another example. So I can give the student the correct score. If the student has missed anything or you need to give them some feedback on that, you can type that here in the feedback for the student. Please see comments on the test. Whatever you're going to post, when you click save there, right, it's not going to move anything. All right, I can still go back and grade the test or complete grading the test if I need to. Notice too, the student score as I update those individual questions changes. And again, this one, math is real easy to type it differently, right? So I can see what the student's grade is. Now, when I exit the student, I still have the grade that needs to be posted. I can post the individual grade, or I could click the post all at the top. So that's how you can grade a test. The last thing is grading discussions. This is a little bit different. You would think you want to grade and read what students have posted at the same time. Unfortunately, right now, you can't do that. So if you go to the discussions area and you see that there's some new information or some new postings from students, new submissions, I can see that here. I can reply to them and make any comments, but I don't have the ability to grade from this screen. If you're in the discussion board and you're reading the student's post, you'll notice at the top right, there's a grade and participation. Here, I can see at the top how many need to be graded. I don't have the sorting capability or the filtering capability here, so I just have to go to each individual student. Now, when I click on student for Wilma Flintstone, I get some other information, and it's telling me how this student, it's analyzing this student's participation with the rest of the course. Now, these just got posted a little bit ago, so this hasn't really had time to fill out, but it will give you some really good information here on how the student is participating according to the class average. Well, one, no grades have been posted yet. I'm going to give this student a perfect score. And as we get several more graded, these numbers here will start changing. You'll see the number of responses, word variations, that sort of stuff. I can jump over to Bruce Wayne, give him a score. Let's say his wasn't quite good enough to get a perfect score. And then I still have to post. Now, I've pointed this out to Blackboard. Notice there's not a post all at the top. All right. This is a drawback. You just have to post them individually. So this takes a second as you go through and post them individually like that. So that's how you do some basic grading in the gradebook. A couple other things I want to point out. Notice at the top, you can view the gradebook by gradable items. You can view it by students. All right, so you can see, and this is showing their overall grade. Remember, I had that displayed as a percentage, as a letter grade. I could go back and change that. Any of the three dots here, you can access the settings for those items by choosing edit. And I'm going to change this to percentage. And now we can jump back over and see the grades. Now notice instead of showing a letter grade, it's showing percentage. All right. So as the students, I can quickly see their overall grade. If I wanted to see specific scores, like on Wilma Flintstone, I could click on her name and it shows me her overall grade. Notice it says current grade for the student. Why is that? The reason that is maybe grades have not been posted yet. All right. So if you have not posted a grade yet, it does not update that overall grade until you post it. So that's why it's showing current grade, because the student may have some things, you may have graded it already, but you haven't posted it for the student to see, and therefore it's not included in the calculation. All right. Notice I can see that comments were made here on the final exam when grades were posted. Another view is right above the gradable items of students. You can go to grid view, which is more like a grade book, and you can see the student's grade this way. Now, anything you see that says grade now just means nothing has been submitted. All right. It doesn't mean there's something for you to grade. If there was something for you to grade, like here for Bruce Wayne under practice assignment, I see in purple new submission. That means there is something for me to grade. I can simply click on that and choose view, and that will take me to the side panel where I can open up that submission. I can post a grade if I wanted to or needed to, and then I could come back out. Now here's the thing, let's post a grade in here real quick. So I've got the grade posted, but I'm coming at it from the Grade Center. Notice I don't have a post now on the right panel. When I come back, I see the grade that Bruce got on that assignment, but notice it doesn't say posted beside it. So now I can simply click on the grade and click post, and now it's been posted, and now it's calculated in their overall grade. So while things work a little bit differently in Ultra, as you get the feel for it, it's actually much easier to deal with in some ways. There are still features that need to be added to Blackboard and building, and as those come out, you'll be notified. But that's basically how the gradebook and grading in Blackboard works.
Oh, thank you so much, Lee. There's such good information here in this tidbit, so to speak, about what the differences are. And it is very different, but it's helpful to see. It looks very user-friendly in terms of the overall tool. So I'm kind of excited to play around with it myself. So thank you for sharing that information with us today. I know that if you have questions, Lee does welcome you to reach out. You can email him, lee.mcminn@gvltec.edu. You can also give him a call. No, he offers that as well, right, Lee?
Yep, that's exactly right.
And you are also welcome to reach out to CISC in general. Everyone there is well versed in Blackboard, so they're available to help you as well. And you can email the department email at cisc@my.gvltec.edu. Well, that's our teaching tidbit for this episode of Blackboard Ultra, and we'll see you next time.